huge number of games now run as well as or noticeably better on this new operating system than on Windows. It uses less power, it delivers more performance, it's just as easy to use, and at this point, there is basically no reason left to keep gaming on Windows except for the biggest force of all: habit. Everyone's dunked on Windows at some point, but gamers unite because it's time to actually do something about it. Before you storm the Microsoft headquarters, though, let us tell you what we actually mean. Windows on a gaming PC is just standard. Nobody really questioned it for a long time. Apple users never cared much about gaming anyway, and consoles don't count here because you don't get a choice of operating system. But one major player in the gaming industry asked themselves a question not too long ago: why isn't anyone competing with Microsoft? And that player was Valve. And alongside Steam, the biggest gaming platform on the planet, they've apparently just built the future of operating systems for gamers: Proton. Well, that's not entirely accurate. The underlying operating system has been around since 1991. Most people only know it from servers or Raspberry Pi setups, and they stay away out of respect for how intimidating it all looks. Linux is for IT nerds, and every IT nerd is now screaming, no, anyone can use it, it's not that hard. And we still keep our distance because how can we trust an IT nerd when he says something isn't complicated while he has to type every single thing you do with a click on Windows into a command line instead? Linux always had the most potential, but actually using it was never as relaxed as the competition. Honestly, it was only a matter of time before some company figured that out. But why is it only happening now? For decades, gaming and Windows just went together. Nobody questioned it. If you wanted to play on PC, Microsoft's system was the only real option. Gaming on Linux? You could make it work. Kind of, with a lot of headaches. But the core problem was simple: drivers. Almost nobody built drivers for Linux because the market was too small to justify the effort. And the market was only that small because nobody built drivers for Linux, so nobody could actually switch. A pretty stupid cycle Linux couldn't escape on its own. Valve then showed just how much potential that sleeping market had in 2022 when they launched the Steam Deck. The performance of that thing shocked basically everyone. Not because the hardware was some next level over-the-top machine, but because it didn't run Windows, which, by the way, lets roughly 30% of your performance disappear down a dark alley. The new operating system is called SteamOS. It runs on Linux, but since Linux is genuinely painful to use, the challenge was making it accessible. That's what Proton is for, which Valve didn't exactly develop themselves but absolutely funded. In short, it's a tool that gets Windows-only games running on Linux. And here's the ridiculous part: some of those games actually run significantly better on Linux than on Windows. What was unthinkable a few years ago isn't just a dream of potential anymore, it's reality. Linux is taking over Windows in gaming, and by 2023, 83 of the top 100 most played Steam games already ran on the Steam Deck or desktop Linux. Now, 2026, of every Windows game that's actually been tested on Linux, nearly 90% of them run, and that number only keeps climbing. And it keeps growing. May 2025 Linux market share among Steam users had climbed to 2.7%. By March 2026, Linux hit an all-time high of 5.33% on Steam. The trend is clear. And to put that into perspective, Linux was at 2.27% in April 2025. 1 year later, over 4.5%, doubled in a year. Okay, 4.5%. We may have made that sound bigger than it is, but think about it. Compared to that tiny fraction of a percent a few years ago, that's an absolutely wild jump. And then 2026 made it all completely clear. Lenovo released a handheld gaming console, one version with Windows, one with SteamOS. The hardware is exactly the same, but the performance of that identical hardware, well, it's significant. SteamOS delivers 5 to 15% better performance across the board. And also in 2026, SteamOS expanded beyond Valve's hardware, running officially on the Lenovo Legion Go 2, I believe, and the ROG Ally, and even more. And Valve didn't stop there. In November 2025, they announced the new Steam Machine, a compact living room PC running SteamOS on custom AMD hardware. Also, a new Steam controller came with it. They're not just taking over handhelds, they are coming for your living room too. On desktop, SteamOS performs at roughly the same level as Windows, sometimes slightly ahead, sometimes slightly behind, depending on the game. On handhelds like the Legion Go S and Steam Deck though, that is a completely different story. SteamOS averages around 20 to 25% better performance on the same handheld hardware. In some games it's far more than that, but as if that wasn't enough, depending on the game you lose up to 50% of your battery life just because of Windows. 50%! 2 hours in Hades and the thing is dead. On SteamOS it runs another 2 hours. I mean, that's insane. And that's not even everything, it's just what convinced us personally. If you want the full breakdown, check out this video. Things really picked up speed in April 2025 when PewDiePie, yes, that PewDiePie, over 110 million subscribers, formerly the biggest YouTuber on the planet, dropped a video called "I installed Linux, so should you." It's a Windows rant. He tears into everything that sucks about it. Forced updates, more and more invasions of user freedom, hardware barriers with Windows 11. His message: enough is enough. Linux and Linux gaming started trending as search terms in the days after. Timing was perfect, almost too perfect. Because Windows 10 support ended on October 14th, 2025, of course, and now Windows 11 is forcing a lot of users with older hardware to make a choice. Switch operating systems, buy new hardware, or both. And before you ask, Windows 12 not coming in 2026, confirmed in March, earliest 2027. So Microsoft doesn't even have an answer, and if they do, will it be a bloatfest again, or will they optimize for gaming? Who knows? Up until now, leaving Windows wasn't easy, but Valve changed that completely with their invention. At the core of it, as mentioned earlier, is Proton. In technical terms, Proton is a compatibility layer that makes Windows games run on Linux. Automatically, no setup needed. In a language we Windows users actually understand, most Windows games just work. Some just as well as before, and a lot of them noticeably better. The perfect example is Elden Ring. In 2022, it was a stutter fest for Windows users. Shader stuttering, to be specific. Valve pushed a quick hotfix in SteamOS and it had it under control. Immediately. Windows took much longer to sort it out. The result, from a gamer's perspective, on Linux, the game runs smoother than on Windows. Proton 10 dropped in November 2025. Proton 11 Beta followed in April 2026, and with it, NT-Sync. NT-Sync is a kernel-level upgrade that lets Proton handle Windows thread synchronization natively, cutting CPU overhead in multi-threaded games. And developer benchmarks showed Dirt 3 jumping from 110 to over 860 FPS. But real-world gains vary, but this is a foundational shift already rolling into SteamOS. And NVIDIA is now hiring engineers specifically for Vulkan and Proton optimization. the biggest GPU maker on the planet investing dedicated engineering resources into making its cards work better under Steam OS. Each update, more compatibility, better performance. And about shader stuttering, if you're not sure what shader stuttering is, it's that noticeable stutter or freeze you get in a game when the graphics effects and the operating system aren't quite speaking the same language. More and more reports are coming out about gaming running significantly better on Linux. Some people are setting up dual boot systems, others are just nuking Windows entirely. The barrier to switching is dropping, and while Linux grows, Microsoft keeps tripping over its own feet. Windows 11 forces you to sign in with a Microsoft account, demands TPM 2.0 and secure boot, and introduces virtualization-based security. Then in 2025, they forced an AI assistant called Copilot on every machine. Whether you want it or not, you don't need to know what all of this means, but here's what it does. It costs you FPS and gives you nothing in return. Oh, and Windows 11 idles at 4.2 gigabytes of RAM, and Ubuntu sits at 1.1, so that's a big difference. That is 3 gigabytes Windows is eating before you even launch a game. And it is not just gamers who are fed up. France announced a plan to migrate 2.5 million government PCs from Windows to Linux, with all ministries required to have migration plans by the end of the year. Germany and Denmark are doing the same, so a lot of wins for Linux. By the way, it's not that surprising that Valve pushed this so hard. Gabe Newell, Valve's CEO, said back in 2013, Linux and open source are the future of gaming. Us nerds loved him for it back then, and for everyone else, it's just confirmed their trust in him as gaming tech's overlord. Nobody saw it as a real announcement of anything, but apparently it wasn't just talk. Maybe we should listen to Gabe more carefully. Tim Sweeney, CEO of Epic Games, also called the Steam Deck an amazing move. With one caveat: Fortnite stays off Linux, for now at least, because of a reason I'll mention in a second. The creator scene is on board too. Not because Valve is paying them, but because they're genuinely making the best move. Alongside PewDiePie, channels like Linus Tech Tips and JZ2Cents did detailed long-term tests on Linux, and the verdict was pretty clear. It's official. Linux isn't just for hackers and IT elites anymore. Schleswig-Holstein, a state in Germany, already proved it works. 30,000 government employees migrate off Windows and Microsoft Office, saving 15 million euros a year. The investment paid itself back in under 12 months. Now, to be fair, not everything works. Fortnite, as I said before, doesn't run on Linux. Then also Valorant doesn't. Some Call of Duty titles either. The reason is kernel-level anti-cheat. Software that deeps so deep into the operating system that it flat out refuses to run anything other than Windows. Most single-player games and a huge chunk of multiplayer game titles work fine, but the biggest competitive games still locked out. The infrastructure to fix this actually exists. BattlEye and Easy Anti-Cheat both support Linux. The problem is studios have to actively switch it on, and the biggest competitive ones have chosen not to. That's the honest version. And for the other publishers, this means slightly more reach but significantly more work. Games have to get tested and optimized across additional platforms. At the same time, a new market is opening up. One where everyone wants in from the start because everything points to it being better than the Windows path. The user numbers just aren't quite there yet. But for us gamers, the shift is already real. Genuine freedom of choice. No more dependence on Microsoft. Anyone who remembers the transition from DOS to Windows, good on you, you are still having a memory that sharp at that age, might recognize a pattern. Once an open platform like Linux gets comfortable enough to use, closed systems like Windows come under enormous pressure. And 2025 was the year Linux became a real alternative for gamers. And all of that just because of Proton and Steam OS. Who would have thought that Valve would deliver not just great games and a platform, but an entire operating system for gamers? What's even left for them to optimize? Slowly but surely, they've covered everything. One thing is clear. It won't be long before a whole lot of you boot up your PC and don't see the Windows logo anymore. How do you feel about knowing you might become a Linux user soon? Maybe you already are? Let us know in the comments.